Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Stats, Hats, and Coffee. Today on the show, we are going to give you the 2016-17 NFL predictions. Guys, we're going to go over every division, every team. We're going to go over the playoffs. I'm going to tell you today who is going to bring home the Vince Lombardi Trophy, the Super Bowl trophy, the mega of all trophies. If you guys are new, please subscribe, drop a like, and it's going to be a fun season. Last year we saw an incredible season. We saw Carolina Panthers team who came out of nowhere from the year before, ended up going 15-1, losing in the Super Bowl to the Denver Broncos, which is a different story because they're without their general this year. They're without Peyton Manning, who did retire. They have about three different quarterbacks, three new quarterbacks. They drafted a quarterback, and not just that. This season is going to be big on star players because some of them are suspended. We take a look at Tom Brady, who's suspended for the first 4 games of the season. Maybe 2, maybe 1, 3, who knows. We're probably not going to know until probably the week before the season starts because that's what the NFL loves to do. Not just that, Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant is out for the year. Yes, the year. That is big. He's a great receiver. He's what makes the Steelers offense terrific. And not just that, we got some teams that have been bad the last couple of years starting to look like they're on the rise. Guys, we're going to get to all that and more here on Stats, Hats, and Coffee. Don't forget to check out the weekly podcast at the official Stats, Hats, Coffee SoundCloud page, Sundays at 8 o'clock. All right, guys. Welcome back. We are going to go over the AFC North first. Good division, very good division. Last year, the division was weird because here you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who started off hot, extremely hot, to the point where they were 3 games ahead of the rest of the team, and then out of nowhere came the Steelers. Bengals suffered some injuries, including their quarterback Andy Dalton, and the Steelers ended up beating them in the wild card playoff game. But I mean, the Bengals are a great team. They won it last year. They got a great quarterback in Andy Dalton. They got an amazing receiver, Pro Bowl receiver, with A.J. Green. They did lost a few key players though. They lost 2 wide receivers to begin with. The cornerback Leon Hall they lost, and it's funny because they're a team that does not solely rely on the running game like other teams. It's going to be tough. Obviously, the NFL lately has been a pass-oriented season. Couple seasons ago, very pass-oriented league. Andy Dalton's a hell of a quarterback, though. He could do it. Inconsistent, maybe, but I mean, when you need him, he's there. The Bengals are a team to me that they're either gonna do really well or they're gonna do bad. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who finished second in the division last year, ended up beating the Bengals in the wild card game. Ben Roethlisberger had some injuries. He came back strong. And Pittsburgh, believe it or not, they had one of the best offenses last year in the league, ranked 3rd. They had a pretty good defense, too. And this year they drafted a lot of defensive guys, a lot of secondary guys. You might even see most of those guys a lot during the games. And, of course, they got probably the most versatile running back in the game. He's pretty much like a 3rd receiver. Of course, he's going to have to be, 2nd receiver because Martavis Bryant is out. But Le'Veon Bell, whatever you ask him to do, he will do. He will run the ball. He will catch the ball, block. He's a good guy. Very, very good player. And then you got the Ravens. The Ravens themselves were a tricky team last year. Very inconsistent. Joe Flacco went down with an injury. They lost some guys. Steve Smith Sr. He will come back this year. Last year he said he was going to retire. had a couple injuries. He will come back this year. The Ravens are another one of those teams that are either going to do very well or they're going to be mediocre, but they have a very good schedule. I wouldn't say it was the easiest, but they definitely have a very favorable schedule. I do like that. That did come into play in my predictions. And then you got the Cleveland Browns. Believeland! You got the Cleveland Browns. And you know what? They're going to be the Cleveland Browns. They're going to do what they're going to do. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough. Because here, once again, coming into a new year, you got a new starting quarterback. You got a new head coach. And I think the only thing the Cleveland Browns need to do is just commit. Just commit. I mean, every single year they have a new quarterback. They have a new head coach. Every other year Josh Gordon plays, and then the next year he's suspended. You got to do something with him first off. But you got Hugh Jackson coming in. You got Hugh Jackson coming in as a head coach, who was the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, who ran offense pretty well. And then you got my knee. You got RG3 coming in to play quarterback. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't see RG3 turning this team around. I mean, they might get a couple more wins, but I don't see them as a playoff team per se. RG3 is just not that quarterback who comes in and takes them from 3 or 4 wins to 9, 10, 11 wins. I don't see that happening. But the good thing is the Cleveland might have found themselves a head coach in Hugh Jackson that they could stay with. They just need to commit. And the thing is, if they fire Hugh Jackson after 1 year and they let RG3 go, I wouldn't even be surprised. But the thing is, they need to keep him. Hugh Jackson is a good enough coach that will get you your players, that will maybe build around a certain player. And it's going to be tough to rebuild that team, because nobody wants to come to Cleveland. Nobody wants to come, and I don't know. It's going to be tough for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe they should just tweet Jim Brown and then have him suit up, have him play running back, because he's probably their best option right now, because they don't even got a running game. Their running game's, I mean, it's not the worst, but it's not even decent. And the thing with Josh Gordon is, I mean, they got to figure something out with him, because we don't even know if he's going to come back this year. And that's just another receiver that they don't have. And it's an ongoing thing with Cleveland. It's just an ongoing thing. They're losing players, they're losing coaches, and they might even be losing fans. Who knows? Those fans are diehard in Cleveland. They really are. If I had to rank top 5 of the best fan bases, I mean, I got the Bills in there. I definitely got the Raiders in there. Definitely the Raiders are probably number 1. Maybe the Giants, the Jets, Browns, they're in there. So they definitely got a good fan base, and I mean, it's very dissatisfying. It's very frustrating to see that fan base go through what they go through. I mean, every single year you start the season off like, oh yeah, come on Cleveland, and then by week 3 you're like, literally check it. That was a good sound effect. I like that. So Cleveland's got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of work to do. I'm not going to tell you my predictions now. We'll do that in a couple minutes. This is just the preview part of it. But this could be a 3-team race. It really will. I mean, you got Cincinnati. They got Andy Dalton back. They got a Pro Bowl wide receiver and A.J. Green. They got a pretty good defense. They will be without the B-man, the B-hitter. You guys know who he is. They will be out with him, I believe, 3 or 4 games, something like that. It's a suspension regardless. He will be out. And then you got the Ravens trying to revamp themselves. You got Joe Flacco coming back. Joe Flacco, a pretty good quarterback, a really good quarterback. He has a Super Bowl ring. I mean, it's not bad. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think hands down has probably a top 3, maybe top 2 offense in the NFL. They got a legit quarterback who already has a couple rings. He's like not even halfway through his NFL career. I mean, maybe just at halfway. Then you got one of the best running backs in the game. You got a very good receiver in Antonio Brown. They will be without Bryant. But, I mean, they did lose Heath Miller to retirement. We will say that. But at the same time, they got a great offense. Good quarterback, clutch quarterback, one of the most clutch quarterbacks I've ever seen play. Besides Eli Manning, who is the best clutch quarterback in playoff history. This is going to be, I think, a 3-team race. If I had to narrow it down to 2, then I would probably say the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Bengals. But the thing is, Ravens have a very favorable schedule. When I looked at it, when I was doing the picks, when I was doing the simulations, week by week, I kept saying, wow, Ravens, they have a pretty easy schedule. They really do. And most of their tough games, including their division games, are at home. You can't beat that. You can't beat that at all. You really can't. But if I had to pick between 2 teams in the division, before I started doing my simulations and my picks and my predictions, I would probably say the Steelers and the Bengals, because those, on paper, stat-wise, those look like the best teams in that division, because we don't know how Joe Flacco is going to play. A knee injury. It was a knee injury. Some players don't come back from that. Some players do not come back from that. And Andy Dalton, he broke his hand. That's all he did. I mean, a broken hand is one thing. Broken hand, knee injury. I mean, a broken hand is one thing, but a knee injury is another thing. And then you got Big Ben on the other side. I don't know. It seems like he gets injured every single year, but it's only like a 2-3 game injury. And he always comes back strong. So, I think this is going to be a very good division, a very tight and competitive division. And when I say tight and competitive, I don't mean the AFC South where, the first 3 teams go like 8-8 and 7-9 and 6-10. I think this is going to be a division where we might see 3 teams get double-digit wins. Maybe. Who knows? When we come back, guys, we are going to find out who I picked to win the AFC North. We'll see you right back. Catch up on all the latest of professional wrestling with the 2 Count. Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Welcome back to Stats, Hats, and Coffee, guys. And now for the first 10 minutes of this segment, I was giving you reasons why the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to win. I was giving you reasons why the Baltimore Ravens were going to win. I was also giving you reasons why the Bengals were going to win. And I was giving Cleveland Brown fans reasons not to buy season tickets this year. Sorry, guys. It is going to be bad. It is going to be really bad. So let's get to the predictions. They will be popping up on the screen. At 4th place of the division. Last place, the basement. I got the Cleveland Browns, of course. Probably like 99.4% of people that do predictions. I have them going 1-15 though. 1-15. Why do I have them being so bad? Because they're a bad team. They're a bad team. That's it. They're a bad team. I'm sorry to say, but RG, my knee, isn't going to help the team. Hugh Jackson might bring some confidence and motivation to the team, but at the end of the day, it's the players who play. And like I said, if Jim Brown was going to suit up, he would be the best player on the team, even at, what is he, like 86? 70-something? And by the way, he is from Syracuse. Oh, yeah. I got them going 1-15, guys. I'm sorry, Browns fans. It ain't going to be Believeland for the Browns. I know that. I might be wrong, and they might win a couple more games, 2, 3 at the most. That's all I see them winning. But right now I got them going 1-15. Now here is the hard part. Here is where I got kind of surprised when the simulations came through. At third place we have the Cincinnati Bengals. At 10-6. Don't get me wrong, 10-6 is awesome. 10-6 is a great record. It's 4 games above 500, and in football that is perfect. We have playoff teams that are 10. We have playoff teams that are 7-9. We have playoff teams that are 8-8. We have Super Bowl champions that are 10-6. So 10-6 that's a great year. Don't get me wrong, that is a great year. It's not going to be enough to get in the playoffs, or will it? Who knows? But for third place, I got the Bengals. I mean, they lost a lot. They lost two. They lost two wide receivers. I mean, Sanu was a great second receiver to AJ Green. They're just going to be double teaming AJ Green just about every play now. And they also lost Leon Hall, and not the best cornerback, but definitely a good starting cornerback. They're without one of their best defensive players for a couple of games. They haven't established a running game yet. And when I mean establish a running game, I'm talking like a 13, 14, 1,500 yard season. They haven't done that. I believe their leading running back only had like 800 yards rushing last year. You can't win in the NFL with 800 yards rushing. Ask the Colts. Ask the Colts. You can't do it. So I got them at third. In second, this was surprising, only because I thought these two teams were going to be flip-flopping when the predictions, when the simulations came out. In second place of the division, I have the Baltimore Ravens, also at 10-6. I believe they will win the tiebreaker over Cincy. I think they'll win more division games, only because, like I said earlier, I looked at their schedule, and it is very favorable. It is very favorable. They have a lot of key games at home. And, I mean, every game is much easier when you're playing at home. So, if I'm wrong about this, it's because Joe Flacco gets another injury and the team completely disintegrates. Completely does bad. They go from being contenders to sellers. Yeah, that's the only way I can think about it. But I have them going 10-6. And obviously, first place of the division, the division winners, Pittsburgh Steelers. Hands down, they are going to be the best team in the division. They're going to have a top 3 offense in the NFL. I still believe, even without Martavius Bryant, I still think they have a top 3 offense. I think their defense will be good. Not great, but good. Just good enough to keep them at 13-3, which is what I have them going. When you look at their quarterback, I would take Big Ben over Joe Flacco. I would take Big Ben over Andy Dalton, and I would take Big Ben over RG3. He's just that good of a quarterback. He's clutch. Whenever you ask him to do something, he will do it, whether it's throw a touchdown pass, get a first down, run for 10 yards. He's got to stay healthy, though. Got to stay healthy. But when you got a running back like Le'Veon Bell, helps your team out so much. In fact, Le'Veon Bell is the only running back in the division, pretty much, that could get 1,400 yards at the same time get 500 receiving yards. When you add touchdowns and stuff, and he can block. And I just think, hands down, today, the Steelers are the best team in the division. They are going to win the division by 3 games. That's what I have, by 3 games. And they're going to march on to the playoffs. And we're going to see what happens. Just continue watching the show to see what happens. All right, guys, when we come right back, we are going to get to the next division, the AFC South. We'll be right back, guys. Don't forget to follow the Twitter at Stats.Hats.Coffee for all the daily updates and more. Hey guys, welcome back to Stats, Hats, and Coffee, and we just unveiled the AFC North and what I told you what was going to happen in the AFC North. Now we're gonna head to the AFC South. Last year, this division was probably it's not even probably it was one of the worst divisions in the NFL, mostly because of injuries. Let's go over the AFC South. Last year we had the Houston Texans winning the division, making the playoffs, 9-7 over the Colts, who were 8-8. And if you guys, I'm going to stop you guys right now and tell you all about the injuries, because those two teams had boatloads of injuries. You look at the Colts on the defensive side, and their franchise quarterback, Andrew Luck. The Texans, they went through four starting quarterbacks, and still made the playoffs. That's incredible. I believe that was like an NFL record, or they acknowledged the fact that they made the playoffs with four starting quarterbacks. And coming into last year, the Colts had the best odds to win the Super Bowl at 5-1, and then second was the Eagles at, I believe, 6-1. They didn't pan out to have that good of a season. Neither of those teams did. Neither of them. And the Colts, they lost their franchise quarterback, but the Texans have a better running game. The Colts don't have a running game. They haven't had a running game since what? Edgerrin James, like 10 years ago. You can't put the ball into someone else's shoulders that hasn't had the experience like Andrew Luck. And let's face it, nobody on the Colts roster is as good as Andrew Luck. There's only a few good quarterbacks out there in the NFL that are as good as Andrew Luck. Texans, though, with the nasty defense, propelled them on a little winning streak. They had the confidence, they had the momentum, they took it all the way. They overcame the Colts, made the playoffs, completely got embarrassed at home to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't even remember the final score, but I think it was like 35-0 or something like that, or like 1,000-4 or something like that. And then on the bottom side, you had a Jacksonville Jaguars team who had a pretty good year considering what they've been going through years prior to last year. Blake Bortles was the best quarterback in that division. He had pretty darn good numbers. And the thing with Jacksonville is they had some injuries too. Of course, Fowler was injured for like the whole entire year. That defense is tenacious, and it only got better this year when they drafted Jalen Ramsey, who could arguably be the best cornerback in the draft, maybe one of the best players in the draft. I think he's going to have a hell of a career. And then with their second-round pick, they got a top 5 player, another top 5 player in Miles Jack. And, everyone's talking about the health problems with Miles Jack, but the NFL is a business. You need to take risks. And they took a risk to draft Miles Jack. And I guess we're going to have to wait to see what happens. But on paper, their defense is like a mutt team. It's like a Madden Ultimate Team defense. They're going to get Fowler back. And last year, they had pretty respectable numbers. On the offensive side, they have probably the most underrated wide receiver duo in the NFL. They have a decent running back. How in the hell did the Jaguars not win the AFC South last year? Honestly, how did they not win the AFC South last year? On paper, they seem like they have the best team in the AFC South. Blake Bortles showed me something last year. He showed me that he can compete with Andrew Luck. I still think Andrew Luck is the best quarterback in the AFC South. But Blake Bortles, if he can do what he did last year, I think we're in store for a mind-blowing year. How mind-blowing? We'll see in about a couple minutes when I show you the predictions. And then, of course, you have the Tennessee Titans. Haven't really been a playoff team in a while. In like a decade. I remember watching the Titans beat the Bills in that last second play. What was it called? Like the Music City Miracle or something like that. Awesome. The Super Bowl run. The Super Bowl run was impressive. Losing the Super Bowl by a yard. The Titans, what they're trying to do is go back to that. They're trying to forget about going 3-13, 2-14, 4-12. They had a really good offseason. They made a number of moves. They got DeMarco Murray. And with DeMarco Murray, I think they're going to get the DeMarco Murray that Dallas had. Because the DeMarco Murray on the Eagles, that wasn't DeMarco Murray. That was Chip Kelly's version of DeMarco Murray, and that was just a mess. And not just that, they drafted Derrick Henry out of Alabama. And just think about this. The Tennessee Titans have the last two Heisman Trophy winners. They got Marcus Mariota at quarterback. They got Derrick Henry at running back. And Marcus Mariota, who started this season off so good last year, extremely strong. His first game was, of course, against Jameis Winston. You got the number 1 and you got the number 2 pick in that game. And Mariota outplayed Winston by a mile and a half, throwing 4 touchdown passes. The Titans want that Mariota. They want that Marcus Mariota. Did go through injury problems towards the end of the season. It was a tough year for Titan fans out there. It really was. But they did get a lot of talent in the offseason, and that's including the draft when they got Coughlin. He, from what I'm seeing, from highlights and what I'm hearing, he is a tremendous offensive tackle, and not just that. They drafted a few other players that might make an impact early. They might make an impact sooner rather than later. So here you have what last year was arguably the worst division in the NFL. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best division in the NFL. I think it is going to be improved tenfold. I think it's going to be a competitive, close division. And I don't know if I'm completely sold on the Titans yet. I don't think they have enough power. I think they're maybe inexperienced. I guess that's what I'm saying. Inexperienced enough to overcome the other teams in the division. You got Marcus Mariota, a young quarterback. But on the other side, you can say Andrew Luck is a young quarterback. But let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. Marcus Mariota isn't as good as Andrew Luck yet. Will he? Who knows? Marcus Mariota, I believe coming into the NFL, he was NFL ready. I think he just needed to develop more as an NFL quarterback. Like I said, hot start last year, injured towards the end. I'm just not completely sold on the Titans yet. And then you got a team like the Texans who, well, last year they went through 4 starting quarterbacks. In the offseason, they might have gotten their franchise quarterback. They might think they have their franchise quarterback. And who knows, they might. Who knows, they might. Brock Osweiler looked like he was a good enough quarterback to start. And, he did play for the Broncos. Broncos, they have good receivers. They have a great defense. But then again, Texans, they have DeAndre Hopkins. They just drafted wide receiver who I think might make an impact. On defensive side, they got a couple defensive playmakers, including J.J. Watt, who seems like he's been the defensive MVP the last 20 years. That's how good he is. So, would you think it's going to take a while for him to get used to it, for them to gel? We don't know. Their schedule isn't as favorable as the schedule the Colts have. And what I mean by, yes, they might play the same teams, but when I was, you got to look at the home games and the away games. And some of the away games that the Texans have are tough. They really are. They are tough. So let's move on to the Jaguars. And we already talked about how good their defense is going to be. If Blake Bortles can just play the way he did last year, I think, you know what? Ain't going to spoil it. Guys, when we come back, I am going to give you my predictions for the AFC South. Don't you go nowhere. Please like, comment, and subscribe for daily content and updates. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to Stats, Hats, and Coffee. Before the break, I was basically giving you an idea on how the AFC South is going to play out compared to last year. I think it's going to be a much better division, stat-wise maybe, fun-wise, competitive-wise, close-wise. I think it's going to be a good division. But without further ado, here are my predictions on who is going to win the AFC South. At fourth and last place in the dungeon of the division, as I look on my cheat sheet, we have, guys, I simulated it. I simulated each game like 100 times, and I got the Texans last place at 6-10. Why do I think they're going to finish 6-10? Why did they have him finish 6-10? Like I said, Brock Osweiler, we don't know if he's going to be the same Brock Osweiler as he was with Denver. I would say on paper, last year Denver had a little bit more playmakers than Houston. And it's a new team. It's a new playbook. It's a new scheme. It's a new offense. New head coach. New offensive line. It might be tough for Brock Osweiler. And the simulations proved it. They are 6-10. At third place, guys, we are going with the 7-9 Titans. 7-9. Like I said, I'm not completely sold on the Titans. Neither was the simulator. But 7-9 is not bad. I mean, there's playoff teams that have made the playoffs at 7-9. 7 wins is a lot better than 3-4 that they had last year. They're getting there. They really are. They really are. They're getting there. But 7-9 is pretty respectable for the Tennessee Titans, who last year, before trading away, they had the number 1 draft pick in the NFL. So you go from the number 1 draft pick to the NFL to a 7-9 record, 1 game below 500. That's phenomenal. At third place, I have the Colts. My Colts, baby. My Indianapolis Colts at 10-6. I think Andrew Luck's going to have a bounce back year. Probably, I think he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. But the problem is with the Colts, they don't have a running game. I don't think they're going to have a running game with Frank the Tank. And their defense might struggle again. They don't really have that many playmakers on defense. Their defense isn't good. So when you add those two things together, I mean, that's a big thing on each different side of the field. And we don't know how this offensive line is going to hold up. They did draft a couple offensive line guys, but they're rookies. And to be honest, I think Ryan Kelly's probably going to be their only starter? Maybe? Who knows? But they do have that favorable schedule that I keep talking about, and that, let's face it, that's big. That is big in the NFL. They got a lot of key home games against good teams, and then they got a lot of away games against easy teams. So there you go. I got the Colts at 10-6, guys, and yes, that means I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South with a record of 12-4. 12-4? What? 12-4. That's awesome. That's an incredible record. I just think Jaguars on paper are hands down the most talented team. I think their defense is going to lead the league in a couple different categories, including yards, including points, maybe takeaways, maybe sacks. I mean, think about it. I didn't mention this earlier, but you're going to have Fowler back, and you're going to have Malik Jackson. That's incredible. That's awesome. That is incredible. And not to mention, you're going to have Jalen Ramsey, a great cornerback. I expect Jalen Ramsey to play a lot this season, and I honestly think Blake Bortles is going to have that type of season again. He's going to have that really good, touchdown to interception ratio. I think he's going to throw for more than 4,300 yards. I think the running game is going to be pretty good. Like I said, hands down, the Jaguars are going to be the best team in the AFC South, and they will they contend in the playoffs? Who knows, guys? When we come back, we are going to present the next division, guys. Don't you go nowhere. We'll be right back, guys. Catch up on all the latest of professional wrestling with The 2 Count. Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right. We are back here on Stats, Hats, and Coffee, guys. We are going to get some insight on the AFC South, straight from Oneonta University here in New York. He majored in communications. On the phone, we have Vince Crabtree. Vince, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Rich?
We're doing great. We are doing great. Now, in the AFC South, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 12-4, winning the division. In fact, winning by a couple of games over the Colts. What is your insight on that? And are you a sole believer of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, Rich, I think you might be giving them a little bit too much credit right out of the gate. I feel like Jacksonville definitely is laying the groundwork to be a team that in the next couple of years could maybe reach 12-4. But I think, for their expectations coming into the next season here, I still think that, you're looking at somewhere between an 8 and 10 win team, which still, given how the AFC South is, that could be good enough to take the division. I just think, as a whole, they're not going to make that jump to 12-4 from where they finished last year, just from the acquisitions that they made on defense.
All right, I like that a lot. Now, Vince, my next question is, last year this division, it was competitive, but in no means was it stat-wise competitive. The Texans took the division at 9-7, followed by the Colts at 8-8. This year I have the Jaguars winning 12 games and the Colts winning 10 games, both making the playoffs. Do you see this division being stat-wise better than what it was last year?
I definitely think you're going to see a shift in the AFC South going from this dumpster fire that it's been over the past couple years into a more competitive division. Again, like I said, before, that the Jaguars hitting that 12-4 mark might be stretching it for me. I think winning anywhere between the 8 and 10 games in the AFC South next year still will probably be good enough to take that division. But I still think that instead of seeing teams finish like the Titans at 2 and 14, like you're going to see them make a push to at least finish close to even. That division is on an upward swing, but I just think that it's going to take a little bit more time than you're giving it right now. I look at the NFC West, and that division took a little while to get to where it's at now, where it's pretty competitive across the board. Obviously now the 49ers have kind of fallen back on that, but every team in the AFC South has kind of a claim to be able to make to be top dog in that division right now. And the Colts with Andrew Luck, they might have the best quarterback in that division, but top to bottom talent, they're lacking in some areas where some of the other teams like the Titans and the Jaguars at least has some potential. And, it's all untapped right now, and a lot of people are putting a lot of stock into players like Dorial Green-Beckham, who, on paper, you would think, a year in the league, he's going to step up and be this monster, but you don't know. He could end up falling flat on his face. The Jaguars have that same issue across the board with multiple positions on that team. So, you kind of, if the trend is going to stick, you'll see the Texans and the Colts up there probably around 8 wins, 9 wins. But, I think every team in there is going to be competitive, and you're going to see just the games themselves are going to be better. You're not going to see these low-scoring games. Every team in that division is gearing up.
Yeah, you mentioned the Titans, Vince, and I have them winning 7 games this year, and I have the Texans being in last place at 6 wins. Now, as far as the Colts and the Jaguars go, it sounds like you're telling me that those two teams could actually be in the top of the division at the year's end. And now, at the end of this upcoming year, do you think we're going to see Blake Bortles finally surpass Andrew Luck?
It definitely could happen. You saw last year what Bortles could do when he was comfortable. And at best with that, you're getting a pretty good Andrew Luck performance. I think Andrew Luck at his best, is definitely a whole notch above Blake Bortles. But it all comes down to that surrounding talent. And like I was saying before, the Colts kind of lack it. T.Y. Hilton is a nice player. Moncrief is a nice player. But Andrew Luck makes those guys better than they actually are.
Yeah, they don't have no defense, Vince, right?
No, the Colts definitely have some issues on the defensive side. I would say on the offensive line as well that they did a great job during the draft kind of shoring that up. Obviously you got to wait to see how the rookies pan out, but, at least they're protecting their major asset in Andrew Luck now, which with that new contract, you better. But they got to figure out how to, they have a bunch of number 2s at the wide receiver position. They need to get a legitimate number 1 in there. And I think you would see T.Y. Hilton's performances even go up if he had a guy that was actually on the outside that kind of allowed him, to run free down the field more often. Hopefully Moncrief can kind of step into that role. I'm still a little skeptical, but when we talk about the Jaguars and Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, those are 2 studs that you got on the outside.
Yep.
And, you throw in Julius Thomas, who, he had his injuries last year, but, that's
So, in the end, Vince, who do you have winning the AFC South?
Yeah, I think you've kind of gotten down to me a couple times here. I as much as I'd like to say, I could see the Titans, finishing it off. That if that were to happen, that would mean that the Colts and the Jaguars both grossly underperformed what the expectations were for them, and I just don't think they're going to do that. So I think you said the Titans with 7 wins. I could definitely see that being the case, and I could take that. I'd put my money on the Jaguars right now.
The Jaguars. All right, that's what I have. All right, as always, Vince, it is good to hear you. We will see you later, guys.
Well, thank you, Rich. It's been great. Talk to you next time.
All right, Vince, thanks for that, man. Appreciate the insight, guys. When we come back, we will bring you the AFC predictions. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out our weekly podcast on the official Stats.Hats.Coffee SoundCloud page, Sundays at 8 o'clock. All right, guys, we are back, and make sure you guys come back for that podcast. Make sure you guys get that podcast. It is the weekly recap of the week. Pretty self-explanatory. What we have next is a fun division. The AFC East, guys. Tons and tons of storylines coming into this division this year. You got the New England Patriots. You got Tom Brady suspended 4 games. And I honestly think that is going to stay. I don't think it's going to be overturned. If they overturn it, that's the second time they overturned it. And there's going to be a lot of hate in it. There's going to be a lot of haters. It is going to be bad, and I mean bad, for the Patriots. Patriots who also lost Chandler Jones. Syracuse, I can never point that right. Syracuse, they did lose him. Well, they traded him away. Probably a bad move, but it seems like the Patriots, every time they make a move, it works out in their favor. And then you got Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills. Last year, Rex Ryan guaranteed the Bills will make the playoffs. This year, he's keeping his mouth shut, which is a good thing, because I don't think the Bills are going to make the playoffs. Pretty self-explanatory. I think they're going to have a respectable season, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. The last 2 years, they have not had a losing season, which I almost messed that up, because usually the Bills are all about losing seasons. They're Tyrod Taylor, versatile quarterback. I just don't think he can go out there and but compete with the Tom Brady out there. I don't think Tyrod Taylor can come out and throw for over 4,000 yards consistently and throw for 30 touchdowns consistently. I don't know. I don't know about the Bills. I do not know about the Bills. Sorry, Buffalo. And then let's move on to the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to be an interesting team this year. Don't have them rated as high as what some people might have them. First and foremost, on the offensive side, Ryan Tannehill. I think this is his hot seat year. I think it is his hot seat year. And I say that because he's been with the team for, 4 or 5, a couple of years. And they have not done nothing. They have not done nothing. And then on the defensive side, you got Ndamukong Suh, who personally, I think he just doesn't want to play on the team. I don't think he wants to be a Miami Dolphin. I honestly think he just wants the money. Don't get me wrong. He can develop. I mean, he can be good when he wants to. He can show up when he wants to. That's not good. You don't want a player like that on your team. And to me, and from, other people I've been talking to, he is a distraction, not only on the field, but in the locker room. And let's face it, he is a risk on the field. I don't know if it's a temper problem, but we've seen in the past when he was a Lion or a Dolphin, we've seen him step on people, spit on people, talk about people's mothers. I don't know. He's a risk. And there's nothing worse than having your team drive down the field, get in game-winning field goal range, only to get a play called back 15 yards because of a stupid penalty by Ndamukong Suh. It's stupid. It's stupid. I can literally spend an hour talking about how stupid making a penalty like that is. I don't know. I'm not too keen. I'm not sold on the Dolphins. I'm not buying it. I'm not selling it either. I don't know. It's just going to be rough. I think this is the year. This is going to be the year we find out if Ryan Tannehill can lead this team, can lead this offense. We're also going to find out if Suh will stay on the team. Because honestly, he might be one ejection, maybe 3 personal fouls, penalties away from being, cut from the team, traded, waived, released. Who knows? And then the final team is the Jets. And here is another tricky team. Because right now, to this day, and it is July 3rd, to this day, we don't know who their quarterback is. We don't know. I mean, of course, they got Geno Smith. Then they drafted a quarterback. But what is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to do? What is he going to do? Is he going to stay? Is he going to re-sign? Is he going to go? Honestly, I do not know why the Jets don't say, you know what, this guy's not going to come. Forget him. Let's try and sign someone else, or let's try and get Geno Smith running the first team during, OTAs, during training camp and stuff like that. Because, if you look at Fitzpatrick's numbers last year, yeah, he did throw for 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Some of those touchdowns, some of his passes could have been picked off. I'm not a very superficial guy, but when I'm thinking of that, the word lucky comes into play big time. Because if a couple of his passes and a couple of his touchdowns were interceptions, you're going from 30-14 to maybe 25-20. I mean, obviously 30-14 sounds way better than 25-20. And it's another team I'm not sold on, is the Jets. It's another team I'm not sold on. They did finish they finished 10-6 last year, but my problem is, can they finish? Because last year they didn't finish at all. I mean, you look at the final game of the year, it was pretty much going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jets, and Fitzpatrick choked, and the Jets lost and the Steelers won, and the Steelers actually won a playoff game on the road. That's something the Jets, I don't think, would have done last year, because they wouldn't have won the AFC East. They would have gone in as a wild card, just like the Steelers. Which means, and it's funny how much that could have changed things, because if the Jets would have won, they were in. They would have been in, right? And they would have gone on to Cincy to play the Bengals. I think the Bengals could have won. I think the Bengals could have actually notched a playoff win, something they have not done in a couple of years. You just see how much that changes. And, that's what I tell everyone. A loss can hurt you in so many ways in the NFL. It's not like baseball. It's not like you're playing it's not like you're playing 1,000 games in a year. It's not like the NBA or the NHL when you play 82 games. Sometimes it is. Look at the Warriors. If they would have lost one game, they wouldn't have been able to surpass the 96 Bulls record. But in football, in the NFL, and college, one game could control your future, especially in college. Because if you lose a game, your chances of making the college football playoff are like 20%. So that game hurt the Jets, and I don't know if they can finish. They're definitely not going to contend or finish with Geno Smith, because I don't think he's a good quarterback to begin with. Fitzpatrick is better. I think they'll win more games with Fitzpatrick, but the only question is Fitzpatrick, is he going to come? Is he going to go? Is he going to play? Is he going to take the contract? Is he going to walk? Is he going to retire? Who knows? And it is July 3rd right now. Football starts in a month. Think about it. Football starts in a month. Preseason. So in 1 to 2 months, that's all the time the Jets have right now of getting their quarterback situation together. While other teams out there have been already at it for a month and a half, they know their quarterbacks. They've practiced with their quarterbacks. Their quarterbacks practice with their players. Geno Smith, he's been practicing, but he didn't. Did he play last year? The Jets have to make a decision sooner rather than later. And you know what's going to happen sooner rather than later? We're going to bring you the predictions. We'll be right back, guys. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow, where we'll be bringing you the NFC and the playoff predictions. Welcome back, guys. Let's go over who is going to win the AFC East, who is going to be in last place. Let's go over the records. Let's go over the simulations. Let's go over the predictions. In fourth place in the dungeon of the division, I have the Miami Dolphins at 3-13. I'm not really that surprised by the predictions, by the simulations. I don't think they're going to be that good of a team. And honestly, I think Ryan Tannehill proves to the Dolphins and all the Dolphin fans and all of Miami and all of South Florida why he is not, I repeat, not the right quarterback for that team. At third place, guys, we have the New York Jets at 6-10. Jets. Nah, ain't gonna happen. Sorry. I have them at 6-10 right now because they have a tough schedule. We don't even know who their quarterback is going to be. Self-explanatory. Second place, I got the Buffalo Bills coming straight out of Buffalo. I have them at 7-9. I actually, when I was doing the predictions, I like Buffalo. They're like my second favorite team, only because I only live like 2 hours away. I actually have them having a hot start. I really do. I think I had them. They only had like 4 losses, and they had like 6, 7 wins. But the backbone of the year, the backbone of that schedule, it is tough for Buffalo. It really is. And at first place, guys, despite the 4-game suspension, I have the New England Patriots going 11-5. I think without Tom Brady, I think that I had them 2-2 to start the year, which is amazing considering who Tom Brady is and then who their backup quarterback is. 11-5 is good. It's respectable. Unlike the Bills, the Patriots' backbone of their schedule is a little bit easier. A lot easier. So I have the Patriots winning the division. The second place team, the Bills, 7-9. Obviously, not going to make the playoffs. It's going to be disappointing for Bills fans as they will go through yet another losing year. But, the last 2 years haven't been bad. They have not had a losing record. But this year, I believe they will. All right, guys, when we come back, we are going to give you the last division, and that is the AFC West, featuring the defending Super Bowl champion, the Denver Broncos, and I will tell you why they will have an awful year. We'll be right back, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe for daily content and updates. Hey. What is going on? Welcome back, guys, to Stats, Hats, and Coffee. We're going to go over our last division of this video. This is the AFC. It is the AFC West. Last year, the Broncos won the AFC West, went on to win the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning went on to retire and finish off, one of the greatest quarterback careers in NFL history. Yeah? No? Yeah? They lost a lot. They lost a lot. Not only did they lose their quarterback, the general, one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever played the game, they lost guys on defense. They lost pretty much their offensive line. You lose Malik Jackson. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. Trebenian, they lost him too. I mean, they just lost a lot. They lost a lot. They also lost their backup quarterback, as we were talking about with the AFC South. They lost the Brockinator. They lost, broccoli and cheese. The Osmeister, whatever you want to call him, they lost him too. It is going to be tough for the Broncos. And not to mention, their starting quarterback right now is Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez, who has not been good since he took the Jets to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row, and then he fell off the radar. He straight sucked. He sucked. You draft Paxton Lynch, killing Mark Sanchez's confidence pretty much, because I have Paxton Lynch starting mid-year. I think Mark Sanchez is going to lose his job, and I think Paxton Lynch is going to surpass the other backup young first, second year quarterback, a name that I don't even know, and probably 95% of you guys out there that don't know his name. So we'll skip that part. Paxton Lynch will start midseason, I believe. The Bills are going to have a rough season. John Elway has his ring as a player, obviously, and in office, obviously. He ain't gonna get one this year. I ain't gonna ruin the predictions, but they ain't even gonna taste 6 wins. So let's move on to another team, the Chiefs. The Chiefs last year lost to the Broncos with 26 seconds to go when Jamal Charles fumbled the ball. And then it seemed like after that, they didn't lose again until the playoffs. The Chiefs went on one of the best winning streaks I have ever seen in the NFL. I think it was 11 games. Obviously, a 16-0 season will surpass that. But that was awesome. And, they're going to get him back. They're going to have Alex Smith, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. They're going to have him back. They're going to have their defense back, especially Eric Berry. They're going to have Derek Johnson. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be a great team. And that place is awesome to play in. It's loud every single game. Every single game. Fourth quarter. In a preseason game, it's loud. It's awesome. And then you got the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. What? No. Might happen. Maybe. Who knows? It ain't going to happen this year, and this is what we're talking about this year. They're not going to be a good team. They weren't a good team last year. They're not going to be a good team this year. Phillip Rivers is going to be good. I know that. He's always good. He's consistent. I think Melvin Gordon is going to be good. But that's it. That's it. And I'm not sold on the Chargers. I don't think they're going to make an impact. I don't think they're going to make any noise. It is going to be a tough season for the Chargers, along with the defending champion Broncos. And then we got the Raiders, the best fan base in the NFL. Had a respectable season last year. Some might call it respectable. They're getting better. We know they're getting better. I believe they're going to keep getting better. Here you got a young quarterback in, Derek Carr. I think he's going to be awesome as he develops more. You got Murray at running back, who almost went to Syracuse. He's from Central New York. He went to Onondaga Central High School. My dad went there. And then you got Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, I believe. And that's not even talking about the best player on their team, which is on the defense side, Khalil Mack, who was the first player in NFL history last year to be named on the All-NFL team at 2 different positions. How does that happen at 2 different positions? He is incredible, and he's only going to get better. I think he is the new J.J. Watt. I think for maybe the next 6-7 years we see a competition between J.J. Watt and Khalil Mack for MVPs, for sack titles. I think it's going to be fun. The Raiders, they do not want to get rid of him. I don't see them getting rid of him. But the Raiders can't keep having losing seasons, or these players aren't going to want to play on the team, like these players like Mack and Cooper, who are used to winning. You look at Cooper, he went to Alabama. Alabama, when you think about Alabama in college football, come on. It's going to be a make it or break it year for the Oakland Raiders. How good is it going to be? We'll find out when we come back to give you the AFC West predictions. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow where we'll be bringing you the NFC and the playoff predictions. Welcome back, guys. We are going over the AFC West right now. Let's get right to the predictions. At fourth place, I have the defending champion Denver Broncos at 3-13. Sucks. Sorry, Denver. Sorry, Mile High City. It's not going to happen this year. You guys are going to have a brutal season. In fact, such a brutal season that you are going to think about getting yourself another quarterback. Wait a minute. Don't the Cleveland Browns do that? Uh-oh. I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but you're going to have a pretty bad season. At third place, going 4-12, we have the San Diego Chargers. Like I said, they're not going to be a good team. I think Phillip Rivers is going to have a decent year. Of course, you're going to see Melvin Gordon have a somewhat decent year. I believe this is going to be Antonio's maybe his final year. I think he's going to be so frustrated at going 4-12 that he's just going to call it quits. I have them going 4-12. Guys, at second place, I have the Oakland Raiders at 12-4 in their second place. Second place at 12-4. But I have them. They're gonna have a good year. Their schedule is favorable. This is going to be a make it year, not break it, but a make it year. And for the first time since 2003, when they went to the Super Bowl, guess what? They're going back to the playoffs. They are going back to the playoffs. The Oakland frickin' Raiders. And at first place, at 13-3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said before, they are a tremendous team, offensive and defense. I mean, they're going to have momentum. You see what they did last year. They rode an 11-game winning streak right into the playoffs. I think they're going to do it again this year. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have another 11-game win streak. Probably not, because that means they would have to start 1-2, 1-3 to do that. I don't think they're going to start 1-3. But those Chiefs and Raiders games, especially the one in Oakland, that is going to be fun. It is going to be fun. Football. It's going to be great. Those are going to be fun games to watch. So there you have it, guys. When we come back, we are going to finish off the show. And then, we're going to finish off the show. We'll be right back, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Stats.Hats.Coffee. All right, guys. Welcome back to Stats, Hats, and Coffee. Tomorrow we are going to bring you the NFC side of things. We're going to tell you what is going to happen in the NFC North, the South, the East, and the West. And we're also going to bring you what is going to happen in the playoffs. We're going to bring you my predictions in the playoffs. We're going to show you who is going to bring home the Super Bowl trophy. I know the predictions, but you don't. Will it be a surprise? I guess you're going to have to come back tomorrow and find out. Anyways, guys, my name is Richard. You guys can follow the show on Twitter at Stats, Hats, and Coffee. You guys can tweet the show if you guys want a question answered. It has been fun. It is going to be a great show tomorrow. Don't forget to tune in, drop a like, smash that sub button, and we will see you tomorrow, guys.